Hey all, Dropel here, just a quick video. As I get older and older, I my belief that what we think as stupid people, what we think as people that we consider out of place, or that people that we consider has special needs, may it that be that they have autism, uh, may it be that they are antisocial, may it be that they are very impulsive, may it be that these people are homeless, may it be that these people abuse substances. The more I get older, the more I realize that these are people who are actually smart. These are people who actually know. Uh, and the best part of it all is people that don't say a word, people that are very silent, people that just hear things, just listen to things, and people who just look at things, people who just watch things. These are the people that are very wise, are very knowledgeable. And every time I speak, every time I try to explain to people why I do a certain thing, or what's my reasoning behind doing something, the more I realize that it's just a waste of energy. It's just a waste of energy. Uh, you might call me weird, but there are a lot of interesting things, as I've said before, going behind what is present, going behind what a lot of people notice in front of them. There's a lot of things hidden that would kill a normal person from the inside should they not pass the tests gradually handed to them over time to reveal to them these hidden things that I'm talking about. Some people don't pass those tests, and they they become empty shells. You will see this in people who can't communicate, who seems to be always out of place, uh, daydreaming, or not being present, talking about something else, while you two are having a different conversation. They were not able to make it back, these people. And as I've said before, there are infinite mountains to climb. Consequently, there is an infinite level to fall down to, infinite hole to fall down to. And go high enough and go deep enough, you'll end up at the beginning of the opposite way from which you have gone through. So, what I want to talk about today is I want to expand on identifying with one's craft. So, earlier, as I was doing one of my schoolworks, a very important schoolwork for our finals, as I was doing the activity, that specific activity, I wasn't uh, thinking. Of course, I was normally, but more so, I was feeling. Uh, I wasn't using my head per se. I wasn't using my brain, the things that I've read or the things that were taught to me. I wasn't using any of those. So instead, what I have been noticing in my body was I was feeling what I was doing. So since I was feeling it, it didn't care if I got it wrong. I could always do it again. Uh, I didn't care if it took a lot of time, since uh, it took a lot of iterations. Since I've got time. The deadline is tomorrow at 9 a.m. So I did that around 3 to 5:30 p.m. earlier, and since I still have a lot to do, again I started uh, early, so I went to our school library and I started my activity there, the requirement for our finance project. So in this specific activity, in this specific lesson that our professor taught us, quote unquote taught, so lecture is just a one time thing, one session, although it is sparingly mentioned in subsequent meetings. It's insufficient compared to self study. Although I have been learning how important it is to have a mentor, to have a person that knows what they are doing on a much deeper level and have a lot of mileage in their craft. I'm learning that day by day. I'm learning how important that is day by day, day by day, day by day. So as I was doing the activity, I didn't know how to finish it. I didn't know how to do it, but I still kept doing it. I tried a lot of iterations. So I was proud of myself because at the past, how I was taught doing stuff for school was that I shouldn't make mistakes. If I didn't get it the first time that I tried it, I'm a failure. And I didn't believe that for a very long time. I tried so hard, I sacrificed a lot of things to not accept that narrative thrown at me by my parents, because it really hurt me when I was a child. Uh, One day, I remember uh, my parents were called for school. I think it was an event at our elementary school, or it was a report card. Uh, uh, to view the report card, there had to be parents. So As my teacher was explaining my grades to my parents, without a thought of defending me or anything, uh, because initially I thought that my parents were my allies, that they would defend me, they would look after me. But as I grow older and older, I realized that no, that wasn't the case. They had their own lives. Even though they have children, they still have their own lives. They're responsible for me in the sense that they have to feed me, clothe me, bathe me. But essentially, all that they're doing is proving to their parents that they could do better in raising a child than them. So they are reliving their childhood through me, through giving me the things that they didn't have when they were children. So I don't really need those things, but they needed me to exist so that they could fix their fucked up childhood. And of course, don't take me so seriously. This is just one story. This is just one narrative. uh, as everything are narratives, this is just one of them. But back to when I was doing my activity in the library. As I was doing a lot of iterations, suddenly it clicked. The things that I was reading on the books that I've recommended to you guys, uh, frame perspective, especially frame perspective, since the activity that I was doing was a perspective activity. So suddenly it clicked. Before, I thought I was studying, I thought I was learning when I was reading those books, but not until a necessity had appeared in front of me, in which the necessity being the deadline for this activity is tomorrow, so it has to be passed tomorrow. Not until that deadline existed, I never would have learned how to finish that activity, how to do that activity. All of that learning from before, or all of that studying, quote unquote learning, quote unquote studying, those were all nothing, because I did, how I did that activity, how I managed to finish that earlier, was not from being taught. It was not from repeated practice. It wasn't even from the fact that I was doing it itself. It was the fact that I had to do it since tomorrow is the deadline, and if I don't do it, then I'm going to fail school, I'm going to flunk school. So, necessity. Not until you are faced in a situation where you are threatened, your life is threatened, although it's not really a life or death situation. However, I've dropped out of school before, so this is my second chance, so I'm not flunking it at all. I'm doing whatever it takes to stay at this school and graduate. So, not until you are faced in a situation where your livelihood or your life itself is threatened, that you are not in your head but in your body. Not until you are faced in the situation where you are threatened, where it is a necessity to survive, will you learn how to actually do something, how to actually finish that task that lies ahead of you. And I'll give you an example. Most people, a lot of people, even though they're adults, do not know how to swim, especially if they live in the city. And if people living in the city knows how to swim, usually they have families back in the province, or they are rich and have been enrolled in private lessons by their parents, and they were taught how to swim. But for me, how I was taught how to swim was, one day I was on the river on my father's side's province. So I was the only one there. I really wanted to learn how to swim. I've been practicing a lot there. Uh, when we got there, and I was, I think 16, 15, 16 when I learned how to swim. So I I was slowly moving towards a part of the water where it exceeds my it goes above my mouth. So even if I jump, I would try to reach the bottom of the river just to be able to breathe. So as I was going deeper and deeper into the water, in the deeper part of the river, I suddenly slipped. So even though I tried to sink so that I could reach the ground and I could propel myself, push using my right foot to reach air, I couldn't reach the bottom of the river. So what happened was, I gurgled some water, and a spike of adrenaline. I literally felt a lot of heat inside my chest. I was able to feel something. I was able to feel something that before I was avoiding, because I remembered when I was a child, I wasn't very afraid to feel, say what I am thinking, say what I feel, sad, angry, uh, happy, perverted, whatever it is. If I am feeling something, I'm going to act it out and I'm going to say it. Probably anger was the most suppressed one, because even though my parents were saying, if somebody tried to bully you at school, give them warnings. They were being very logical, but if they still persisted, go hit back. They were saying those things, but what they were doing to me back home was that if I even speak what I am seeing in front of me, so I wasn't adding anything, I would just speak what I'm looking at, what I'm seeing in front of me, or I would say what it is that I'm thinking when they're around and they're having a conversation, they would hit me. Yes, my parents would do that. So, what's the use of telling me to be real with myself and fight back when somebody is bullying me, when you are doing that to me at home, and when I don't fight back, when I just tell the truth, you are you are punishing me. How does that make sense? So I developed ways to release my anger. I've developed ways to be noticed by people, uh, let them know that I know the truth without actually telling the truth. So early on, I was trained in the conveying energy. Even though what I'm saying was nonsense, it was real. The energy was pure. Uh, and this is also a topic that I want to discuss further in the future. Seeing energy, feeling energy, and that words are meaningless. But that's another video. What I want to talk about today is the importance of necessity. And only when you are not in your head anymore and you are in your body, since there is no alternative in surviving a situation unless you go inside your body and figure something out, will you learn how to do something. And once you learn it, you will not be able to forget it. So that happened to me in the province. So the river story. As the adrenaline pumped up in my chest, as I felt, suddenly I can swim now. And I wasn't afraid anymore, but I think it was like 3 to 5 seconds of me struggling for air, gasping for air, being submerged underwater. It was just a quick uh, second, it was just a quick moment where I lost my footing, and suddenly there wasn't any uh, there wasn't anything to do than to know how to swim. So that's when I got out of my head. I got out of, quote unquote, to learn how to swim. Start small. To learn how to swim, try this, do that. Paddle your hands, be calm. I was out of my head. I was out of those paradigms, and I was in my body. I got into my body, and when I got into my body, then coupled with the circumstance in which demanded that I learn how to swim, that my body found a way to learn how to swim, or else it would die. And it was such an amazing feat. So this is the third time that I was able to do that. First was in the province when that happened. I lost my footing in the river and learned how to swim. Second was when uh, I forgot the second time, but what happened earlier definitely wasn't the second time. I had a second experience, but I forgot. I lost my train of thought. But let's just say that the second thing was earlier, when, since the deadline for this activity, our school activity, is tomorrow morning, and I still have a lot to do. I did a lot of things. I stopped thinking, and suddenly, after a lot of iterations, I was able to finish it. And I didn't even know what I did, but as I was doing it, and as I have finished it, I can never forget how I did it. I can never forget it. Same with swimming. Since my body had already learned it, I can never forget how to swim. So it's amazing, such an amazing feeling. Oh, the second time that I got out of my head and got into my body was when my father invited me to talk with him on our living room while he was drinking alcohol, always, of course. But I've told this story before. It was when, as I was, as I got into the living room from my own room, I bought uh, with myself my, either it was my notebook, a sketchbook, or A4 paper. And as my father was talking with me, I was feeling this intense pressure. Uh, and as that was happening, as I was feeling that, as I was feeling this intense pressure, and I didn't want to show any reaction, emotional reaction, and I didn't want to talk, and he didn't. I know that he didn't want me to show any reaction to what he was saying. So as I held my ground, what happened was suddenly my something from above descended into the paper, and I died. I died inside. And at that moment, it was a life-threatening situation. I think in the spirit. I think that was what was happening back there, and back then, and if I hadn't bought, if I hadn't brought my sketchbooks, my notebooks, my A4 paper with me back then, I think I would have been a soulless person by now, walking without a thought. I wouldn't exist anymore. My body would be here, but you know, it would be dead. I wouldn't have any mind. And I see a lot of people like that in my life. And it's so sad. It's very sad. But what happened was, as my spirit was being threatened by my father, it didn't have any choice but to get out of this body and find a new place to stay. And mind you, I was drawing when that was happening. So I was doing mannequins. I was doing those drawing figures using basic forms.